get this commission meeting in order. We're going to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Anybody has any cell phones, could you please silence those? Take a moment of silent prayer, please. Thank you. I'll begin this morning's roll call with Commissioner Vicki Cos is on the phone with us this morning.
Here.
Commissioner Mike Smith.
Here.
Jeff Culverson is here. Commissioner Doug Smith.
Here.
Commissioner Mike Stephen.
Here.
All present and accounted for. Public comment. I have 3 signed up for public comment. Is a Ray Darrow here? Come on up to the podium. State your name and address, please, for the record. And you have 3. Just tell us your name and address for the record, and you have 3 minutes.
My name is Ray Darrow. I live at 27371 179th Street. And I'm here today to talk about the dust control problem on that road. And the road, we've got all that traffic coming in from Easton that diverts down our road that you can't even go outside anymore. The dust is so bad. It's so thick. We've got one neighbor that's in the hospital fighting for her life right now because of asthma, an old widow woman, because of the dust. My granddaughter, who lives on that road, is 8 years old and missed all last week's school because she couldn't go because she was coughing from the dust. And I was wondering, is there any way we can get anything done to slow down the amount of dust? We get no traffic control out there on that road at all. The deputies won't even come up that road because the dust is so bad. And you got people driving up and down that road 50 miles an hour. Somebody's going to get killed because you cannot see 10 feet in front of you when a car goes by. And my concern is, what are we going to do about it? Do we have to let somebody get hurt? Do we have to let somebody get killed? Because we won't do what we have the ability to do, which is to treat that road to control the dust. And we're going to be living like that for 6 months. Why? That's the whole short and long of why I'm here. And I want to know if there's anything that we can do to slow that down.
So, public comment, the commissioners are not supposed to respond or answer questions or anything for public comment. You just state what the issue is. But if you would get with our Public Works Director while you're here, they'd be glad to talk to you about it.
Who?
Our Public Works Director, while you're here, we'll be glad to talk to you. Bill Noel actually is our Public Works Director.
I do have a question. Is Eisenhower going to be closed 6 months?
We got it. Thank you,
Ray. Is Eisenhower going to be closed 6 months?
The contractual deadline is December 23rd for completion.
Mm-hmm. October, November. 3 months.
Okay, well, next for public comment, we have Keith Jennings. Is Keith Jennings here?
I do have one question. Myself, Commissioner Smith. Eisenhower.
Yeah, Eisenhower.
Eisenhower is closed until February 15th.
Oh, okay.
I was thinking 187th. It's December 23rd.
So 187 will be open before Eisenhower?
Yes, because they're doing 2 culverts.
All right.
Yeah.
So I have a question also for Bill. Did you have any of these concerns brought? Have you had these concerns brought to your attention on this reroute? These dust concerns?
Yes, I've had the concerns brought to my attention.
And what has been your response to this point?
The Public Works Department currently is not funded and has not been the direction of the path on the past projects provided by the board that we provide dust control for off-site improvements or hard surfacing prior to projects due to budget constraints.
So that's the response you've been getting. That's the response you've been getting.
His microphone isn't working or something. Look in here.
Well, his response has been budget constraints. Is the response?
Go ahead.
That you've been
What
getting.
does that mean?
So basically what it means is
Does that mean that there's nothing that we can do about it?
That's exactly what it means. What it means is this is exactly what I'm talking about. I'm trying to get the public to understand that you guys keep cutting the budget and cutting the budget every year. And things that get cut sometimes are important things. You guys are interested in this because it's your neighborhood. We do hundreds of these closings every year, every single year.
We had enough money to do your road.
Do whose road?
Yours.
What are you talking about?
To hard top your road.
My road?
Yeah.
The road I live on?
Yeah.
I'm not sure what you're talking about, but
Okay.
that road was done
Right.
10 years ago. But my point is, this has nothing to do with hard surfacing. You're talking about dust control.
Right. I don't want to get special treatment.
That's exactly what you're asking
We want
for.
to be able to live.
What
we
you're-
want to be able to breathe. We want to be able to go outside of our house.
I understand.
And we can't do that right now.
And I'm trying to tell you why, if you'll listen to me. These are the budget cuts that have been done over the years that I keep trying to tell you people, stop cutting your own budget. The budget is your budget. For you to pave or chip and seal or dust control with chemical the roads was the first thing you guys pulled off of your budgets. There's hundreds of these we do every year. We're sorry that it works out this way, but they're growing pains. They're going to happen all across the county for everybody in different neighborhoods. So you only get a few people yelling at a time. Not everybody will yell all at once, is why it doesn't get put back in the budget. If everybody would yell all at the same time, we'd put it back in the budget. But we only get a few in here. Nobody pays attention to these things when they get cut out of the budget. They just keep saying, cut my taxes, cut my taxes. But when we cut something like this, then we have a few people come in and yell. This circle is not working, and it's going to get worse. We're going to start closing bridges. You guys are not listening to us. You've cut this. You've cutting grass and weeds in the side of the ditches. You've cut a lot of things that we've went too far. We've cut too much out of the budget. Stop cutting things like this out of your own budget. We've been asking this for years. So that's exactly what the problem is. You guys cut this out of your budget years ago, and now you guys are feeling the effects of it. Everybody feels the effects of this, but a few at a time because we try to spread it out. But that's exactly what the problem is. If it cost us, say, $10,000 to just do yours, you say, well, that's not much. What's $10,000? We do 100 of these across the county, so it's hundreds of thousands of dollars if we were to spray dust abatement on every single project that we do. We don't have hundreds of thousands of dollars in the budget. We cut that out. So, yeah, the answer is we do not have anything we can help you with because these were cut out of the budget years ago. And we're telling you guys, stop cutting things like this out of your budget.
So,
That's the answer.
do we have any idea what the traffic count is on that?
Not currently. We had previous traffic counts. We have not put out a counter since this has begun. It was very low volume before the project.
Right.
So
I just wanted to mention-
your volume of traffic has increased dramatically out there?
Absolutely it has.
Yeah. Can we put a traffic counter out there just to see what the change has been?
Yeah, I can take a look at the change and we can get a number on the exact number of the change.
And we have, on some projects in the past, we have, like, I know we got some money from the state on the George Road, but we had like 2,000 cars a day coming down that way, and we did end up having some treatment. But on that road, is there any area of the road currently where there is dust control being done?
Not currently. I've been told by multiple property owners that they were looking into acquiring some dust control individually along 179th Street, but currently I don't believe there are any portions of the roadway that have dust control.
Well, I know my neighbor has done the dust control, and it's for about a quarter mile. And even if you would treat several patches of it at that, it would make a big difference. I don't know, and that's something that is available as an option to you guys out there. But we don't on projects normally have extra. I mean, we just to toot the horn of the county, we have paved $7 million worth of roads in the past 5 years, which is, if you look at the amount of paving that's been done in the county, it's more paving in 5 years than's been done in the previous 30 years. So we have done a lot of roads. Last week a budget was approved that spends a lot of money, additional monies on roads, and we're trying to keep up on the roads. And we're still behind, even with the budget we adopted. But that being said, we don't typically budget for the reroutes to get this chemical applied.
I'd still like to see if possible, I'd still like to see the count.
Yeah, get a count for us so we can.
So who's going to be responsible when somebody gets killed on that road because we didn't do anything? Is it going to be one of you guys? Who's going to be?
We're trying to figure out a way so that doesn't happen. So the first step is probably going to be to get the traffic counts, and then let's see how dramatically the traffic count has changed.
Yeah, I'd like to see that.
And then we'll bring that back to us.
Thank you, Ray.
Is there a Keith Jennings here? He's signed up for public comment, but I don't see him. So we'll move on to Scott Everett. Is there Scott Everett here? Come to the podium, state your name and address, and you have 3 minutes. Thank you.
Scott Everard, 24562 195th Street. I'm here for the same problem. And then you say you don't have the authority. I was just downstairs with the superintendent, and he told me he don't have the authority to put dust control down. It's got to come from you. And then you sit there and say, we the people have cut the taxes. We're getting raised every year on property taxes. So I don't understand where you're coming up saying that we're cutting your budget and you can't get this funded and stuff. Every year it seems like you get a fund to get a raise, though, don't you?
Well, what percentage of your property taxes is coming from the county, and what percentage is coming from your school district? Have you looked into that?
Well,
it's the smallest amount of your property tax
we
is coming from the county.
This 1.8 this year.
Well,
Tonganoxie.
and people don't seem to know that the majority of their property taxes come from the schools. And that's what I always want people to know. Majority of your property tax is not coming from the county, and the county has all the responsibility. Roads, bridges, infrastructure, culverts. We have all that responsibility, and think of the expense of that, but yet the amount of taxes that the county's taking in is like 25 cents out of every dollar of your property tax.
Well,
So we're doing the most we can with the least amount of money. And we're trying to run a tight ship, and the budgets have been very tight. And that being said, I think we need to look at the traffic counts.
Well, you guys probably should have looked at that before you started the project. I mean, you did have traffic count right there on 10, right by Lee Wake's house. There was traffic count.
But when you get a reroute, once the traffic's rerouted, you don't know what it's going to do. Like George Road, it went from like 185 cars a day, or even less. I can't.
So
up to
4,000.
about 2,000 cars a day.
I was told 4, but
So I mean, yeah, we need to do a traffic count post the project.
well, we're past sort of the project. It's already started. I knew when the road got shut down because I came in, did some business in town. I went home. I seen a big truck down. I guess that's McIntyre. I guess that is the old Jim Smith's road.
Stranger.
The road hadn't been closed, but I seen a big truck down there. I got home, and then probably about 15 after 5. That's when the traffic started. And he's right. There should be cops out there because they'll be writing tickets left and right. They're flying down our gravel road 50 and 60 mile an hour. They're coming off a 10. They're not even hitting the brakes. When I came in, actually, I took a right because I thought maybe I'd catch the superintendent down at the bridge because they're just starting to tear it up there on 187th Street, County Shop Road. The guy, I met a farmer on the way. He was coming south when I was coming north. Had to have your headlights on because you couldn't see nothing, just like he said. And then I look in my mirror once I got on 10, and there's a guy riding my rear. When I took a right at the V down there to go, I looked. He did not even stop at the stop sign. 50, 55 mile an hour. Phew, right out on County Shop Road, or 187th, whatever you want to call it.
Well, and if you would, this isn't really a subject for this, but if you research on what the state law is on setting traffic speed limits, we are very restricted on that as well.
Yeah, it's supposed to be 35, but it hasn't been.
But there's the only way we can get it down to 35 is a very convoluted process that involves a lot of expense.
Well, yeah, because if you pave it, they're going to even be going faster down the road.
But you want to dust.
The same concern, though. I mean, it looked like you was fogged in. I could not see the neighbor's house down the street. When I backed out of my driveway, I just gritted my teeth and backed out because I could not see even the end of my property line. My property's 300 foot wide.
Well, we need to do a traffic count on that. Find out where we're at.
But I mean, you guys say, well, we don't have the authority for dust control. You sort of pushed it off on the supervisor. I done went to the basement. He's saying it's up to you guys.
We didn't say we didn't have the authority. We said we didn't have the funds.
And where's all the funds go?
So we'll make a motion again in the next budget cycle to put in $500,000 for dust control when we do these temporary projects, and it always gets cut out.
And when's that going to start? Next year?
We just went through the cycle, so yeah, it'll be another year.
Yeah. So by the time
But it won't get approved. It won't get approved.
The project could be already.
It doesn't matter if we do it tomorrow or next year because it won't get approved. It's one of the low-hanging fruits that gets cut out of the budget every time.
And that's what I don't understand. You guys are taking in 10 times more property taxes than ever, but you say you can't meet your budget.
That is not true at all.
Okay, it's not?
No. We've lowered the county mill levy every year for the last 6 years.
But our property taxes keep going up every year.
Your valuation keeps going up every year. That's right.
A couple years ago.
Yeah, but it doesn't go to the county. Look at your tax statement. Look at the breakdown.
Yeah, because a couple years ago, I came in, sort of had an argument about property taxes. I called Topeka. They were supposed to give me somebody else. They gave me a number, but in 5 minutes, her name was Q, calling from Topeka, because I was calling the governor's office. Mm-hmm. And Q called, and then she did send me papers, and it was broke up. It looked like a pie, and it was all broke up. I wish I could have saved that, because they used to say Wyandott's property taxes was higher in Leavenworth. It was Overland Park, Wyandotte.
Leavenworth County has the 7th lowest mill levy in the state of Kansas.
Not according to Q.
Well, then it's wrong.
That's the county mill levy.
Yeah, county mill levy.
She had Overland Park at number 1. We're number 2 on property taxes.
That's
right
a city, so it's not comparable.
You got to add in all the different subdivisions.
There's a lot
the
going
school,
on.
And then the city,
Yeah.
and then the township,
Yeah.
and then the county. And once you add that all together, yes, Leavenworth County has pretty high property taxes.
Extremely
but
high.
we're only talking about
What the county gets.
the county part
is the
And
7th lowest.
That's the part that we have been controlling, and we have been controlling that. And that's why some of these, and I don't know in the past, and Bill could address this, has there been a time when we fully funded dust control? And I don't think since you've been a Public Works.
He said the state had to do it last year.
The county has not, in the past 5 years that I've been the director, ever funded any dust control.
How far back has it go? It's been.
It has that.
We've never funded any dust control other than what people paid for, and then we prep it.
In the last
And
25,
then,
I know.
The George Road was paid for because that was a KDOT project.
Yeah,
K-16 was closed down.
And that
But
used
they
to
don't
be.
fund. They don't fund. You know, these box culverts are a match fund from the state, but they won't fund any dust control because the main detour is on a hard surface road. Correct.
Well, we didn't post a detour.
You didn't
because
post a detour
You
on
would
this
have to
one?
post a detour clear around on 92 Highway, and so when we can't post detours from hard surface roadways to gravel roadways.
Right.
In effect, whether it was contributing or not. It would be a county cost. And if you did post a detour, it would be going south, County Route 5, all the way up and around and coming back down. So it would be, or Fairmount, going out to K7, coming through town. There would be long detours. So it would be the same as George Road, where they posted a detour. They went from Oskaloosa to Lawrence to Tonganoxie to come all the way back around to 24 and 32. So it would be an extremely long detour. There are some people taking it. I know because I spoke to some people. They're taking they don't want to take any gravel. So it would not be 100%. I think it would be less of a percentage probably than what was on K16's closure that are taking the gravel road because it is not quite as long. But I have had both sides of that conversation with folks who have added 15 minutes to their drive and stayed on hard surface, and folks who've taken the gravel but don't want to be on a lesser surface roadway, or residents in the area.
Okay, so we need to get a traffic count on your road, and that's the first step.
Well, first thing is put the sheriff out there tonight so he can start writing traffic tickets.
You think they're going more than?
I know they're going. They're
55? Are they?
They're doing 50 to 60 down the dirt road.
The speed limit's 55.
They're allowed to do that.
Speed limit's 55.
55 mile an hour.
On a dirt road?
Yep.
Speed limit's supposed to be 35.
On a gravel road in Kansas. If it's unmarked,
Unless it's
55 by state
reposted
statute.
and there's a traffic study. See, the law is so. I didn't realize this before I was elected commissioner that this is the way it was, because we had this whole deal with George Road and the whole thing. But you've got to do these very expensive traffic studies, and then you have to post it at every intersection. And it makes it very difficult for boards of county commissioners to make the speed limit drop on those roads.
Yeah, I think though, Mike, I think we got a deputy here who can pass it on. Being a cop for 20 years, even if they're sitting out there, they'll slow them down.
That's true.
So if we could get somebody, if you could relay it, if we could pass it on, or Mark, if you want to relay it on to the sheriff dedicate or the undersheriff, just to try to at least have a presence out there, I think that would be a good start.
Because if they see police cars, they slow down automatically.
Well, you'd think they would, but they got no common sense.
We can do that.
Well, we'll relay that and then get the traffic count.
And when did it actually go to 55? Because, I mean, there used to be signs on dirt roads that said 35.
It's a
They had to come down.
It's a state
They were
statute.
illegal.
Well, there's one
Unless
thing.
it
There's
doesn't
one thing
pass
too.
the study.
There's a yellow sign that may say 35, but that's not what can be enforced. The white signs, white and black, is what we're allowed to enforce. The 35 is more like a recommendation.
The yellow one.
Yeah, the yellow one's what I'm saying. The yellow one's more like a recommendation instead of saying that, and they can't write on that. Now, if that's contributing to an accident, that takes another step. That's the reason they don't write. If we change it or go through the process Commissioner Stevens talking about, for all of them, we could get it down, but right now statute allows them to do 55. I think the best thing to get started with, and we're going to have these conversations later on, is to get a deputy out there and get a count, and let's see if we can get some people's attention.
Well, that definitely needs to be done because,
Yes,
like
sir.
the other gentleman said, somebody's going to get killed.
Yes, sir.
They're going to get in a serious accident. Like I said, I gritted my teeth and backed out of the driveway.
I understand.
And I even turned my lights on. And you couldn't see you barely could see from here past the building.
Yeah, I got you.
I mean, you couldn't see.
Okay.
If he's coming up 55 mile an hour and I'm backing out, he wasn't going to stop.
It's not going to be a good thing. Let's see if we can get some attention out there.
Thank
for
you, sir.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think that's all we had for public comment. We'll move on to. Oh, you have one? Yes, ma'am.
Come on down.
Come on down.
Sherry Grogan, 16635 Leavenworth Road.
Morning,
Two things.
Sherry.
Just listening to the discussion about the speed limit. This is a good example that we ought to put our state legislators to work to change the law to make it easier. So when we do need to reroute traffic, slow things down,
Amen.
that it can be done.
I agree.
The second thing is on your agenda today, there is an action item around the comprehensive plan, and some of the changes in there have to do with action items or strategic items related to economic development. And so there's an ownership change on there, and it says economic development. So now that we don't have an economic development person, I think there needs to be some discussion around exactly who is that economic development person? Or who's responsible for those action items now?
Yeah. Good point.
I agree.
Good
Thank
point.
you. Any other public comment in the room?
I just wanted to comment on Ms. Grogan's comment about the legislature.
Yeah, we went,
Three
and
years.
we
I was gonna
actually, and we actually went
We
down
start
that road.
now, that might get done in 10 years from now.
Yep, and Sherry, we actually went down that road on that subject a couple years ago, and it went nowhere. So
Yeah, there's been a couple things that we've approached the legislatures on, and it didn't go anywhere.
We
Deaf
wish,
ears.
we wish it was that easy.
Well, I shouldn't say it didn't go anywhere. It went through some committees and some hearings and some things,
Some
and then
of
all of a sudden, it goes away.
Some of them didn't even make it that far.
Yeah, ones we needed.
But yeah, that's the way the process should work, and I'm hoping someday it will.
And just since we're going down that path, I'll just remind people that when we did adopt, we went to the legislature for the tornado relief for outbuildings. And it took 3 years that the county commissioners were given the authority to abate
Yeah.
property taxes for folks that had outbuildings destroyed by a natural disaster, in this case the Linwood tornado. But clarification is that we had one of our legislators publicly say that that we didn't have to go through that process, that we had the authority.
We could have done it anyway all along.
We could have done that ourselves as the county commissioners. And we have checked with legal counsel, and we have verified repeatedly, and this is another opportunity to make it publicly known that we did not have the authority, and that legislator is misinformed. And we get a lot of this from sometimes people saying, well, you spent this much on Cushing. That wasn't right. They didn't get that right. And then they say, well, you had the authority. No, we didn't have the authority. We need to have open communication with our legislators, because a lot of what they're doing impacts your local taxes and regulation of the county, and the open communication is really important, but getting your facts right is important too.
But you know, Mike, if it doesn't, when they go off to Topeka, and some of them are good friends of mine, but I disagree with what they did in the property tax relief, which could have helped everybody in this room and everybody in the county. Everybody. I don't care if you're a renter or whatever, it could have helped you. But when you get to Topeka and you forget about us, it's something. And then the voters forget about it until after the election. This is an opportunity to send a message that we want some changes up there, no matter how you get about doing it. We cannot continue to go down this. Leavenworth County will suffer more because of the way the tax-exempt properties are in that we've talked about 100 times. We're cutting the budget. I don't like to raise these mill levies. In fact, we've done a good job of keeping it down. But until the legislators take ownership of this, and some people say pass the buck, it's not passing the buck. We only have so much authority. Legislators need to do something to help us out. And when ours tells us, well, I won't get mine passed if I don't go along with whatever the clique is up there, no matter what party is, that's Leavenworth County suffering. And until we get a group of people that are willing to stand up against that, it's not going to change.
And Mike, the tornado bill was such a common sense bill.
Yes, it was.
That it should have went through nothing, easy. It took 3 years.
Well, just a note on that. One of the reasons it took 3 years is because this legislator didn't want this legislator to be able to take credit for the fact that it passed.
That's exactly right.
So we have to go to this legislator to make sure that they didn't give credit to this other legislator. That's not the way we should be doing government in Topeka or in Leavenworth.
Country. Yeah, I agree.
We
Okay,
could talk
agreed.
about this all
Okay.
day.
Next,
Oh, I could anyway.
Yeah.
administrative business.
I make, we got administrative
Yeah,
business.
administrative
Okay.
business.
Okay.
Mr. Lothar, you have something this morning?
Yeah, last week it was mentioned that the commission wanted to schedule a work session on outside agency funding. Since I wasn't here, I just wanted to take this opportunity to get a little clarification on that. I wanted to make sure that, is this something you want to wait until the new commissioners are here for, like right after the first of the year? Because that certainly could change the approach we take on those, having two new commissioners here. Or is that something you wanted now, even though knowing it may not be binding on next year?
What month did you usually send the letters out saying do not expect any funding?
We didn't normally send that out until sometime in May or April when we send out the notice that they need to get their budget requests in. So yeah, we don't.
I think since we're going to have two change in, it could easily, why do it first and have to turn back around? I just wait until we get the two folks, whoever they may be, come in so we can work through this.
I'll have it penciled in for February then.
That's what I want. Is everybody else okay
Is
with
that
it?
also your thoughts on the economic development?
Well, I think with budget for next year set, so
Well, I mean-
there's no change is going to happen in that. So I
But
would
when the new
say
commissioners come on, we need to be
I
finding out what direction everyone wants to take on.
I
We
think
need to
that
have-
would be
we need
part
to have
of
that-
outside. Some of that's
Yes.
considered part of outside funding.
We need to
So-
have that conversation. Economics is a big tool to help us try to keep these property taxes and everything down. So definitely a conversation we need to have again now that we don't have someone in that position.
Okay, I'll pencil that in for a February work session then.
You good with that?
Yeah, doesn't matter.
I agree.
When you send the letters out, I mean, they always come back with enhancements, so, and the letters probably aren't doing any good, so.
Okay.
Some of the enhancements are like dramatic.
For something that's not supposed to be
Requests.
funded, that we
Requests.
don't expect any funding at all, yeah.
I just had one thing I wanted to go over, and I've been doing this the last
Yeah.
few weeks.
Hold on a minute. Is that all you have, Mark?
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Mark.
Sorry, I thought-
It's okay. I just want to make sure you're done.
This is the inflation the past few years. Past 4 years, and I just want to remind, this is why it impacts our budget. It's why it impacts people's budgets. But the past 4 years, non-prescription drugs have gone up 18.4%. Apparel's gone up 9.9%. Pet food has gone up 23.8%. Food at K through 12 schools has gone up 65.5%. Coffee's gone up 21.3%. Dried beans, peas, lentils, that's gone up 23.9%. Rice, pasta, cereal, 19.4%. Breakfast cereal's gone up 22.3%. Margarine has gone up 52.9%. Eggs have gone up 46.8%. Hotel rooms 51.2%, and groceries overall have gone up 21.6% in the past 4 years. So that's what people are up against. So when we're doing budgets and when we're doing looking at all these other things to spend money on, this is what people are facing.
Yeah.
It's not sustainable.
Right.
It's not sustainable. Just like, look what we're doing. We got guys over there, we pulled off the roads to patch a parking lot in here. Normally, we'd be bidding that out to have a contractor come in here, but, so then we had to take guys away from the roads to come in here to try to save some money.
And that's what we're up against. So
I hope they're off of your roads, Jeff, not on mine.
I did just have one question for Mr. Loftree. On the final bids, estimates, and all these expenses for the building, what's kind of a time frame we can be looking at?
We're still waiting for the bid documents from the architect. So I think that the last time I checked, we were looking at late October to have the bid documents ready to go and get it bid before the end of the year.
Okay, that's all I have.
Anybody else have any answers? So I was going to talk to the board this morning and see if we can get a consensus of they're getting ready to send out the tax statements for everybody's personal or property tax. And you know how last year we put a informational page in there about LAVTR?
Yep.
Because that's a real easy way to reach out to people and try to educate them about some things they probably don't know about. So do we want to put another mailer in there
Absolutely.
about some subject?
I do.
It could be LAVTR or something else.
We need to reach the people and this stuff, and that's one way they'll look at that.
Okay.
I think you should include the breakdown on property taxes. It's really easy, like a graph or something, or
A chart, yeah.
a chart
And they used to do that years ago all the
that
time.
shows that your tax, so people know where their property taxes are going.
Instead
And
of
you
all
can
to the
read your
county.
statement,
Yeah.
but if it's a nice document,
Okay.
you know,
I agree, Mike.
So we don't have to pick exactly what we're going to put in there right now. I just want to make sure we have a consensus that we do want to put something in that.
I do.
They've got plenty of time to get it from us. So.
yeah, and we've been for 5 years educating people on the fact that what percentage of your property taxes come from the county. That they think we control all of it.
Okay, I'll make a punch list of 4 or 5 things, and next week we'll figure out which one or two we want to send.
Sounds good to me, Joe.
Okay. Another thing, we've got, since this is 9/11, I've got a Patriot Day proclamation to read. Whereas today we honor the brave Americans who met the terror of September 11th with extraordinary acts of courage and sacrifice. In our darkest hour, when terrorists believed they could bring our country to its knees, those Americans proved that our nation's unbreakable spirit would prevail. In the moments, days, and years after the attacks on September 11th, heroes were forged. Firefighters, police officers, and first responders ran into the inferno of jet fuel and debris at Ground Zero, risking their own lives to save the lives of others. Service members and civilians rushed into the fiery breach at the Pentagon again and again to rescue their colleagues. The patriotic passengers of Flight 93 made the ultimate sacrifice to prevent their plane from being used to take more innocent souls. And in the big cities, rural towns, suburbs, and tribal communities, hundreds of thousands of Americans' hands went up, ready to serve our nation in uniform. We owe these patriots of the 9/11 generation a debt of gratitude that we can never fully repay. Whereas by a joint resolution approved December 18, 2001, Public Law 10789, the Congress has designated September 11th of each year as Patriot Day. And by Public Law 11113, approved April 21st of 2009, the Congress has requested the observance of September 11th as an annually recognized National Day of Service and Remembrance. I, Jeff Culverson, as chairperson of Leavenworth County Commissioners, do hereby proclaim September 11th, 2024 as Patriot Day and National Day of Service and Remembrance. I call upon all departments, agencies, and instrumentalities of the United States to display the flag of the United States at half-staff on Patriot Day and National Day of Service and Remembrance in honor of the individuals who lost their lives on September 11th, 2001.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Can I just make a comment on that?
Yes, sir.
I always remember that song by Alan Jackson, "Where Were You When the World Stopped Turning?"
Yep.
We were just talking about that. Everybody remembers exactly where they were.
Yeah.
Everybody does.
Yeah.
And I think with the division,
I'm working here.
I was the city of Lansing.
and with the division in our country, especially over this election, I think I remember I took a train down to Ark City, and I was walking down to this Mexican restaurant. I was walking down there, and they came by with a big fire truck and a big American flag on it. And I just remember thinking to myself, I have never seen the kind of unity
Yeah.
in our country that we had in the days right after 9/11. The country pulled together. We were not Democrats. We were not Republicans. We were not any political thing. We were Americans.
Yep.
And I wish we could get back to that.
It's a shame we can't do that every day, Mike. Point well spoken.
Amen.
Thank you, Vicki.
Forgot you was out there.
Yeah.
Any more administrative business to go over? If not, we'll move on to
I'll make a
consent
motion to
agenda.
approve the consent agenda as published.
I have a motion and a second. Begin voting with Commissioner Cos.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Consent agenda passes. Formal board actions. Consider a motion to approve a gate rate increase of $2 per ton effective November 1st, 2024 for the Solid Waste Department. Morning, Tammy.
Okay.
So since we just charge what it costs us, I'm assuming that our rates to us went up.
I didn't hear that.
So since we just operate the solid waste transfer station at cost, I'm assuming that something must have went up.
That's the adjustment.
Cost to us
Yes,
has gone up.
CPI through our HAM contract is adjusted in July of every year. And then me and Mark went over it, and we did find an error, so it took a little bit for that to be fixed. They used the wrong pricing, but it's all fixed now. And
So that's just our cost, as we're just passing it on to
That's all it is.
the users. Yeah.
And how do we compare to surrounding counties that have a transfer station?
we're still the lowest.
We're still the lowest.
Yeah, and you can judge that by all the out-of-county
Tags.
Come through with it.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Doesn't Atchison County make theirs local residents only?
Yeah.
I think. Yeah, that's what I thought.
So how does this typically go in effect? Like you get the information in July, and then when do you typically put it into effect?
Well, this is new. This is what the
Second year.
second year. Yeah. So our when I get the July bill in August, it has what the rate increase is.
Okay, so then it goes into effect like September 1st, or
The rate that we pay goes into effect automatically per contract.
Right.
Then when we get that notice of what it's going to be, Tammy and I review it, look what our current rate is and what our expenditures are to see what we need to increase our rate. And then we typically would put it in the following month. This year we've got it for November 1st just because we were going back and forth with them a little bit on, as Tammy mentioned, they charged us the wrong increase to start with, but we got that fixed and we're good. And then that gives Tammy enough time to notify the contractors that the rate's going up so that they can prepare and I would assume, talk to their customers about potentially a rate increase as well.
so in coming years it may be the month before.
It typically probably would have been October 1, but because of the back and forth, we just wanted to make sure we had enough time for the private haulers.
I make a motion to approve a gate rate increase of $2 per ton effective November 1st, 2024 for the solid waste department.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? I'll second it. Motion and a second. Begin voting with
Well, I was
Commissioner.
going to have discussion.
Oh, you have discussion? Sorry. Yeah.
You know, a while back they were trying to open a private transfer station. I mean, if we're running at cost, how could a private run cheaper? Or would it
That was
be
my
more
question
expensive?
when they were talking about that
I don't
one in
think
the
they
city.
could, Doug.
So,
It's a good question. One that obviously we weren't involved in, so I really couldn't tell you what their calculation
well, I mean,
is.
it's awful close to this, the first location. I didn't know if they were still pursuing another location, if that would,
I have not.
I mean, if we're running at what it actually cost and we're just running as an enterprise fund and not a profit, I was wondering how you could do it privately
And have a business.
and have a business, because you're going to have some profit.
Yeah.
You can't run a business nonprofit.
Well, and there are things that they would have to pay that we don't. So
There's
On
probably
top
some
of it.
government subsidy somewhere.
Well, I mean, people, ask, how can a private business run it cheaper than the government? And I don't know how to answer that.
I don't know.
I think location would be another issue, too. I mean, there could be some problems with some of us.
Well, I didn't know if they were looking at another location, or
Yeah,
I'm just
I've
saying.
heard
You
that.
go in business, you better have a profit margin,
I heard they are.
or
but
a very understanding banker.
There's a lot of issues. I think Leavenworth
but-
County runs it very well.
And that's all. As long as KDHE's happy,
Yeah,
I'm happy.
yeah.
So, anyway, that's all I had.
So if Leavenworth County is a little bit lower than the neighboring counties, you maybe don't have a chart of what the difference is. Is it, we don't know if that's within a couple dollars or.
It's been substantial in the past, but I haven't checked lately. But they're a for-profit, so
Okay.
their gate rates are going to be higher than ours.
Of course.
Commissioners, I think sometimes we get, and I know we're lower than a majority of the surrounding counties, but sometimes you have to be careful when you try to compare our rate with other counties' rates in an enterprise fund, because their cost of doing business is going to be different than our cost of doing business. So they may have to pay more wages. Maybe they have union wages or whatever. So it gets really tough. Or maybe they have debt that they're trying to retire that we don't have debt. We operate this fund without debt. So there's a lot to take into play. So it's a gauge you can use, but you really can't use that to base our rate off of.
Do you see any debt in the future for expansion or upgrades or anything like that?
We do a really good job of trying to set aside the money we need to do improvements. Tammy works with Aaron right now. They're trying to work some things out on future improvements. you never know when something might happen, so I can't say that it wouldn't happen, but we're doing our best to operate that fund without debt.
Yeah. Floor's holding up?
So far.
Really? Wow. That should have been
It
wore
did
out.
have a patch.
Yeah, that should have been wore out a long time ago.
I think the things that we put on the backhoes.
Yeah, but
Really
still,
helps save
it
our
helps,
floor.
but it's still, that's a lot of wear and tear over
It
it
is. It is.
since that's opened up.
Yep.
Good concrete.
So when we do this next year, would it be possible for you to kind of give us the surrounding counties?
Sure.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. Begin voting with Commissioner Cos.
Aye.
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 All right.
Thank you, Tim.
Thanks.
Thanks, Adam.
Next up, consider a motion to approve the purchase of 2 skid-mounted roadside sprayers from Fairbank Equipment in the amount of $49,222.70. Morning, Bill.
Morning, Bill.
Morning, Commissioners. We have been looking at this bid item for quite a while. Our current units have been depreciated out. They've had extensive repairs this past year, and one of them was actually in a non-injury vehicle accident that damaged some of the equipment. We had solicited for regular bids because we believe that they would be under $25,000. However, they were very close to that, and we could only find one bid supplier that met the specifications without exceeding them. So we did go to a sealed bid process for this review, and we found that we still only had the one bid. We did receive 3 bids. The first bid the low bid did not meet the specifications, and they did not provide any of the supplementary documentation for us to review in order to verify exactly what other equipment. They just simply marked boxes yes or no in their bid tab. They did not provide us with any of the specs of the equipment they intended on using. The second bid did meet specifications, and the third bid, that was the high bid, exceeded the specifications that we had put out for bid by quite a bit. This unit does have a new function that will allow it to adjust automatically to the vehicle speed and distribute the appropriate amount of chemical based upon the speed that the operator is driving. They claim that will reduce chemical usage by 18 to 20%, but we have to verify that to see if our numbers actually drop at all with what we're using.
Bill, I noticed this on the thing, just to clarify, the lowest bid was what, 35,800, or the one that you were looking at from or the one that you did not go with, and the other one was 49,222. Could you just explain a little more in detail why the difference of those 2 bids?
Well, the pump didn't meet specifications. They marked it, did not meet specifications. There are 2 units, and so it would be multiplied by 2. But no, I can't specifically say why, because when we reached out to them again, they did not provide us with any of...
Oh, so you did try to contact them again?
Yeah, and we had contacted them prior to
Okay.
this. We don't know if I believe that they're building the unit themselves, so I don't know. They're sourcing pumps and hoses and different stuff, and I'm guessing that when you really looked at it at a very specific level, I don't know that it would meet all of the requirements of the bid document other ways.
Okay. Just concerned when I see something that far off from the bid we're not accepting, it draws questions.
Yep.
That's why you got to go over the specs. You got to stick to the specs. So I make a motion, or I move that we approve the 2 mounted roadside sprayers from Fairbank Equipment in the amount of $49,222.70.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I do have some.
Yes, sir.
You said you spent $3,000 on the current equipment.
In the past year,
In the past
one
year.
of the units. Yes.
And then you said that there's extensive repairs. Are they needed on the current equipment right now, or has that been made?
No, they have not been made on the equipment that was damaged.
And you're not planning to, if we make this purchase, we're not going to make those repairs.
No, we're not making those repairs.
So do you
It was
have any?
depreciated out also. It has reached the end of its useful functioning depreciation schedules.
So this is just a question, just if we didn't make this purchase, we'd have to make those repairs, which could be several $1,000s.
Yes, they would be several $1,000s, or we'd have a reduction in service.
Okay. So your opinion, I mean, when we look at each expenditure, we need to be letting people know that we're looking to see if we delayed this, it actually could cost us more.
Well,
It will.
It will cost us more.
Right.
Yeah.
You're going to be paying repairs.
Yep.
Repair costs were on these units. They come with a warranty, and they have a useful lifespan of, we depreciated these last ones out for 8 years. But then you have a lot of plastic components and tanks that get sun damage, and it gets drugged through brush and everything else. So, yeah, eventually you come to a point where you're going to be constantly repairing them, or they're going to be down most of the season with repair costs.
And we're probably at that point right now.
Yes, we are at that.
That's why we use an amortization schedule, so the money's set aside a little every year to replace these things. So, this is kind of related to this, being it's a roadside sprayer. Is there any way that we could just, when KDOT comes and wants us to contract to do state highways, is there any way we can just say, we don't have time to do it, we got county roads to work on, this is your problem, not ours?
Well, I would support that opinion. I don't know specifically. I've never tried to deny their request, so I don't know what the response would be from that. I would think that our lack of spraying the KDOT right-of-way for the previous 4 seasons would be a pretty strong indication that we don't have the staff or the equipment.
Well, we don't.
No, we don't, and we have 800 miles of our own roadway to maintain.
Which turns into 1,600.
And then they, because
One on each side.
And they collect tax revenue to maintain their roadways.
Mm-hmm.
And
I think that our crews have enough with the county roads without worrying about noxious weed control on the state right-of-ways. That's my opinion.
Makes sense to me.
Has that been a long-standing practice?
Yeah, as long as I can remember.
I think it is just in general statewide as well, because in other counties I'm aware of, they have the same practice as well.
But I think we're a little different than they are out in western Kansas. I don't think one size fits all.
On a lot of things.
Yeah, I mean, because it's really.
You do have weeds out there, though.
I know, but this is kind of. We just don't have the manpower and the time. I don't, in my opinion.
I agree. Especially now.
In my opinion, they need a lot of mechanical treatment. They need mowed. You look at, you had an individual come in a couple weeks ago on 92 Highway. What
Right.
it needs is mowed all the way back to the right of way to push that honeysuckle and some of the other brush that's growing out in the trees. It needs a boom mower.
And we have roads that need that too.
And
So
we have
why would-
hundreds of miles of ditch, maybe even 1,000 that need that as well. And we do service our own roads first.
Yep. So I lost track. Do we have a motion and a second?
Yeah.
Was that on
Yeah.
that? Yep. Begin. We have a motion and a second. Begin voting with Commissioner Vicky Cos.
Aye.
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 All right.
Thanks, Bill. Consider a motion to approve the bid from Central Salt for 2024-25 for winter salt for snow and ice removal in an amount of $58.32 per ton.
Commissioners, this item was bid out and advertised, and surprisingly, it came back lower than last year. This is the first thing that we have seen that did not see a substantial price increase. Now, the other 2 bids were price increases from their bids the previous year, but Central Salt did actually lower their bid, albeit percentage-wise by a very small percent, but it virtually is flat from the previous years. We've been able to get our salt from them. I will state that when you get into a storm event that is occurring over multiple weeks. It has been fairly difficult to get some of the salt put back into our storage. I believe that more is a result of the trucking shortage that they have, not from the actual production of the salt in Hutchinson, but I believe that would be the trucking company that doesn't have the trucks available. So we always fill up all of our bins and mix all of it up and have everything completely full before the winter season. And then as soon as we have a storm event, we try to refill it and order as much as we possibly can.
And this also included salt for Bayshore, Tongi on this bid.
Open to all.
Lansing.
Yeah, all the jurisdictions.
Yep. So, county visit for everybody.
Any further discussion? I'll
Been using
entertain a
them as a
motion.
supplier for how many years?
We used them
Off
last
and
year.
on.
I believe that, I think 3 of the last 5 maybe.
It's not every year.
Yeah, it hasn't been every year.
I move that we accept the bid from Central Salt for 2025 for winter salt and snow for ice and snow removal for $58.32 a ton.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, begin voting with Commissioner Cos.
Aye.
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 Motion carries. Consider a motion to authorize initiation of proceedings in eminent domain to acquire certain necessary easements for the Tonganoxie Road Safety Program.
Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission, good morning. I'm certain that you've reviewed the RBA that was prepared on this matter and are familiar with the Tonganoxie Road project. As for the reasons set out in that memorandum, I would ask that the motion as set out in the memorandum be made, seconded, and adopted.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I move that the board authorize the initiation of proceedings in eminent domain to acquire certain easements necessary for KDOT project number 52C-5242, Tonganoxie Drive, 187th Street to 189th Street High Risk Road Project.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, begin voting with Commissioner Cos.
Aye.
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 Motion carries. Consider a motion to approve an amended quitclaim deed to transfer ownership of a tract of land previously owned and utilized by the county as a facility for a sewer district.
Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission, this is being presented to you to clean up the boundary lines between two pieces of property. Over the decades that this area has been surveyed for various things, discrepancies crept in. Surveyors do have those issues. Your GIS department detected this error, and through your GIS department and the county surveyor, they have crafted this quitclaim deed, which would take care of the boundary issues now rather than sometime in the future.
Okay.
I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve an amended quitclaim deed to transfer ownership of a tract of land previously owned and utilized by the county as a facility for a sewer district.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, begin voting with Commissioner Cos.
Aye.
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 Motion carries. Resolution 2024-15, proposed amendments to the Leavenworth County zoning and subdivision regulations, Articles 3, 22, 33, 35, 40, 43, and 60.
Morning.
Good morning, folks.
Morning, Commissioners.
All right. Before you is Resolution 2024-15, which is also case DEV 24006. It is the proposed amendments for the Leavenworth County zoning and subdivision regulations. This item was brought to you guys at the July 3rd, 2024 meeting, and there were a couple of discrepancies noted during that meeting. At that time, you guys chose to table it till the second week of September, so we are back. I just wanted to make note of the two discrepancies that were noted during that meeting. The first was that there was a typo for the number of months that the Planning Commission recommended that RVs stay parked in a recreational vehicle park. They recommended 12. Unfortunately, we imposed that as 6 months in the red line, so we did fix that. The second thing was Chairman Culbertson noted that the recommendation for the the radius in the cross-access easement regulations was 50 feet diameter. That it was supposed to state 50 feet radius to match our other regulations for emergency turnaround on cul-de-sacs to allow for emergency apparatus to be able to pass through there safely. That has also been corrected to be radius instead of diameter. So if you guys have any further questions about the proposed regulations, please let us know. It has been provided for you guys to review.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
On page 55, which is Article 22, special use permits, temporary use, and home occupation licenses. I have a question on that. If you want to turn to that. It reads, as specified, and this is in the first section, general, down in the red change. It says, as specified in these regulations, these approval by the planning and zoning director or by the Board of County Commissioners. So my question on that is, the definition should be clear that the SUP approvals must come from the BOCC.
In that general outline there, it's intended to incorporate anything in that document. So it is specified in the SUP process further in the article that it has to come before the board. The reason it's worded that way, the home occupation component actually is an administrative element that would come through this office.
I wonder if we should add a line, though, making that definition more clear. That's what I was, can we have it specified, the clear differentiation between occupational licensing and SUP process?
We can.
I'm good with that one.
Well, while we're talking about SUPs, I know we haven't really discussed it. We don't have any regulation on SUPs for gravel roads, really. And we just heard about dust and everything. I just don't think it's fair to the people that live there in a residential area to have someone have a business on a gravel road without at least doing the minimum dust control.
And could that expense of that be put onto the applicant?
Absolutely.
Yes, I think.
I don't think anybody else should pay for it.
Well, I mean, it's a question because sometimes the government's expected to pay for it.
No,
so
that's just me, and I
It'd
just
be a
don't-
mandatory condition.
Yes, I mean it's
SUPs
a
on
minimum
gravel
of chemical dust control. That's my opinion.
I agree with that.
Because you're putting a temporary zoning change in a residential area that could cause increased traffic on most businesses.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's.
I agree with that 100%, and you'd have to build something in there because the chemical application is temporary, so you'd have to put in there like a schedule based on
it'd be
counts.
once a year.
But it depends on the traffic, so
Well,
you'd have to build some kind of schedule
I mean,
in there.
If you could at least just get it.
I like that
They
idea.
shot it every year. It's going to hold up.
Yeah, I like that idea.
I think we should be, when we do a work session on this, we can talk about that, but I think there would be potentially a lot of increased cost if we do that for small business.
Well, yeah.
I don't know if one.
I mean,
I think
dust
it's part of
control.
I
mean,
don't know how
a
much
couple
it-
bucks a foot.
Yeah, it's not that expensive.
I mean,
I don't know if one size.
adds up.
I don't know if one size fits all. I agree with the concept of doing it, but I don't know making it blanket like that. There might be something. I think we need to do it. Don't get me
And
wrong.
that's what I'm talking about, a threshold of how many
Yeah,
cars.
that's what I'm
I
talking
mean, if
about.
they're
yeah.
going to have 2 cars a day.
Instead of saying you will do it, but then
know,
there's something that
Because,
you
you
have to
budgets
meet.
aren't showing any future paving. That's
Right,
for
but
sure.
what I'm getting at is if they only raise the traffic count 2 cars a
Well,
day.
yeah, that's a home-based business where they work out.
They
that's
shouldn't
the
be
internet,
required
but you still
automatically.
got deliveries.
Yeah, but they shouldn't be automatically, probably. I think
No,
that
I
would be
agree.
case
Put
by
a
case.
agricultural-based venue in, and it's raising traffic counts by 500 cars every weekend.
Yeah,
That's different than if you have a cabinet shop and it brings 30 cars a week.
exactly.
Although a cabinet shop that's got employees and deliveries and
Well, that's
big
why
trucks.
that's why I say you
delivered.
tie it to a number. Just say if they're
I
going
think
to
there are a lot
generate.
of variables there. That's probably when we ought to have a work session on.
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. And give the
Right.
staff time to
Yeah, that-
check into this.
I wouldn't recommend trying to make that change on the fly. I
No.
think it's a
No.
great
Well,
idea.
all right,
I
then
think
we'll-
we've actually pushed that before.
So
Some
can-
idea about road improvement,
So can you set up a work session on specifically that?
specifically that item.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's
And
good.
I'd also like to throw in that I don't think there should be an SUP on a minimum maintenance road. they should have to bring a road up to the county standard.
We'll make that part of the
I think
work
that's a
session.
really great.
That's another one, yeah, Doug.
I mean, minimum maintenance roads are minimum maintenance roads.
Yep.
That's the reason it's called that.
I think we need to be careful. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Vicki.
Yeah, I just wanted to give I agree with Commissioner Smith on that issue.
Yeah, we're going to set up a work session for that.
I just want to offer the caution that what we do here can impact people's livelihood, their businesses, and we need to be careful how much cost we drive as government towards people that are trying to make a living.
That's why that work session is so important.
That's why I
Let's-
said
let's-
the chemical dust control.
Yeah. So let's-
That's not a huge cost.
Yeah.
I mean, if say you're a, quarter mile off a road or off a blacktop road, I mean, that's not a big deal.
Yeah.
And I think if there's heavy impact, if you have a heavy impact, then there could be a circumstance where you need to dust abate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You need the hard surface.
Absolutely.
We need to have that conversation.
We'll have that work session set up
Yeah.
then. That sounds good.
But
Let's
we
face
really
it.
need to think about how it's going to impact small businesses.
Clear as mud, John?
That's also impacting
It is.
the residential neighborhood, too.
I think we can understand that one.
Okay. Good.
Is that all you guys have
different
for us? Ann?
tiers listed. The criteria for these tiers when I'm going through this Article 22. Can you kind of walk me through that, how the tiers would work?
Sure, it's based on impact and intensity of use. Go ahead.
Yeah, so these were taken out of the comprehensive plan strategy recommendations. There would be 4 different tier types. How it would work is we would first look at the land use table, determine if that land use requires a special use permit in its zoning district. Then we would go to this tiering system and see where that use best fits in the different types that are designated below. And the type 1 would be large tracts of land that are recreational or quasi-public in nature, but can include accessory uses or limited characteristics that can be detrimental to adjoining properties. The second type is uses related to communications or utilities, which tend to be out of character in the land use in the vicinity. Type 3 is uses with unique characteristics and potential to produce nuisance impacts such as light, glare, noise, traffic, litter, and more. And then the type 4 is the most intensive, uses that are largely industrial operations that frequently generate hazardous or intense nuisance factors. So what we would do after we identify which use, that would be the basis of our recommendations to the Planning Commission and to this body to determine time limits that we would recommend you guys place on them, and also additional conditions that would apply. So industrial uses might have more intensive conditions placed on them, for example.
So our intent here is to build a framework from which staff can make a reasonable recommendation to both bodies. Once you make that recommendation, it doesn't mean that you can extend past that timeline. We don't back either body into a corner. You must put a cap on it at 3 years or 5 years or 10 years. It's certainly within your authority to prescribe whatever timeline you want in an SUP process. But this is to standardize the staff review of each SUP.
And it's and the only time that the director is going to have discretion is under the home occupational licenses, correct?
And temporary special use permits, it's already built into that section that a few items this body has already determined can be approved at the administrative level.
Okay. But your large, intensive SUPs still follow the same procedure we had prior?
Yes. Yes.
Anybody have anything else? Question-wise? Vicki, do you have anything? Something you were looking for?
Well, that might have been in the comp plan.
While we're waiting, go ahead, approve Resolution 2024-15, proposed amendments to the Leavenworth County zoning and regulations, Articles 3, 22, 33, 35, 40, 43, and 60.
Have a motion. Do I have a second?
To make that recommendation for that change.
I would just like to clarify, Commissioner, is this with the recommendation for the change that Commissioner
Yes,
Stephen?
I should have put that in there, absolutely, what Mike suggested, yes.
And just also to clarify, that's just including the
Yeah.
verbiage about.
Clarifying who has authority.
Yeah, yeah. Please make that part of the motion.
Could we just have you bring it back when we have that language before we make the final vote? Can we just
Good, it's your call.
have them bring it back next week
Okay,
with so we can read the language before we.
okay.
There's no hurry.
I'll withdraw that motion then.
Then maybe Doug will find what he's looking for by then.
Yeah.
We'll just do that then. We'll just table it till next week.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Do we need to make a motion table? Okay,
We can bring it back next week
okay.
with that change.
What'd you say, Vicki? I'm sorry.
No, that was Article 35.
You're cutting out, Vicki. We can't hear you too good.
I found one.
Okay, hold on.
Sorry, I'm just making sure that we have included that it's due a date certain. If we're taking it for state.
Table it till
Next week.
next Wednesday.
It's not a public hearing, so it doesn't.
No
have-
public hearing, so it wouldn't have to, but we'll say it anyway.
Oh.
Doug, did you find
On
what
the
you were
Article
looking for?
35, on the soil's inadequate or lot too steep, are we going to go there?
Are you talking about the sensitive land?
Yeah,
section?
yeah.
At this time, we aren't proposing to change anything in there. So if you want us to look at it, we can, but we would probably wait till next year's amendments.
So right now, what are we doing then on that?
Sensitive land developments are when there is steep terrain incorporated in the subdivision over a pretty significant area. That's when those regulations would apply. The vast majority of our subdivisions are not applicable to that section.
Okay.
That's the current language.
That's the current language.
Yep, and nothing's proposed to change in that.
Okay. I know there's some older subdivisions that would fall into that.
They may, but they would not
Timber Lakes.
apply if they already have that.
Timber Lakes.
I was trying to think.
They
of
also
some that
got a
have
private road.
three-layer-
They've got a private road in there.
There's some have 3-layer basement foundation.
But I don't know. But that's pretty much subdivision. But if an individual is going to go out and wants to build on a 5-acre tract of ground, it's not a subdivision or a 10-acre. We're not going to step in and say, no, you can't do this.
Nope.
Okay.
Okay.
So we're going to table that till the 18th.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Moving on, Resolution 2024-13, amending the Leavenworth County Comprehensive Plan in whole or in part with findings of fact.
Resolution 2024-13 is the annual review of the comprehensive plan, so this would be for the year 2024. This process, you guys are well aware of. It's been through study sessions, it's gone to the Planning Commission, and it's now before you guys for consideration. The recommendations are from staff and the Planning Commission is only to amend strategies that were included in the strategic plan for the comprehensive plan. Those are outlined in red line for you to consider. As mentioned previously, some of those recommendations were to, and specific to the economic development, was to change the responsible party from the Planning and Zoning Department to Economic and Development. So I understand that you guys probably want to have a conversation about that. But as far as the recommendations, they have not changed since the last time you have looked at them.
What? Didn't we have a consensus of the board on a few of these things? That we had concerns about the FEMA, that we were just going to stick with FEMA rules and not create our own? Is that
I think that conversation was relative to the text amendments when we had that inclusion originally in the text amendments and you wanted it struck, which staff did.
And then, wasn't we talking about the productive farm ground too, that we was not interested in that?
When we were talking about it, like an ag preserve.
Yeah, well, on the FEMA, there
FEMA
were
stuff.
conservation easements or something.
Yeah.
Those were originally proposed in the text amendments. Conservation easements and preserving those lands. And we struck that per your.
Okay. And then, what was the other one?
Those are the only two I remember that we wanted.
Productive farm ground. Need that.
Floodplain.
No, trees and shrubs. Wasn't there something on that?
All that.
Is that just
I
a
don't remember
recommendation?
That one I don't remember.
We don't want to have to tell people they got to plant trees in their yard or in the right of way.
Yeah, I remember talking about it. I don't remember what
That was back in July, though.
they ended up doing.
Evaluation concerns. Oh,
Just-
incentives for conservation design. Did we ever figure out what that was going to be? What kind of incentives we could offer for conservation designs?
Well, there's a number of ways to accomplish that, but the direction from the
Right.
body was that you were not
Right.
interested in that. And
Right.
again, the comprehensive plans of visioning document, the zoning regulations are the actual requirements. So that was all struck from what
Okay.
was proposed originally.
Because probably any of that would include loss of tax dollars.
Correct.
So. Yep.
That was a problem.
Yep.
Yeah, we can't offer any incentives.
Yep.
There's too many incentives being offered now. We don't get a return on investment.
Anybody have anything else for him? Yes, sir.
It seems like, and this was a good comment during public comment, we had a person, wherever we have economic development county administrator or economic development administrator listed throughout this, I think one of the problems we have is we haven't really sat down and determined, we have this person's gone now, so are we going to transfer his responsibilities to someone else in this building, or are we just not going to? Are we not going to have that responsibility, or who's going to be responsible for that? And I think it's really hard for us to approve this document until we make some of those determinations.
Well, wouldn't you want a document in place that has that verbiage for when somebody does refill that position, if and when?
Well, if that's what we have intentions of, or if we have intentions of having an economic development commission, or if we have intentions of having the LCDC do it, or I think it needs to be talked about.
I think no matter what we do, just my opinion, is there'll be an economic drive component, and this is just kind of covering the bases on it.
That's the way I looked at it.
Yeah, that's the way I looked at it, Mike.
It's for whatever entity is in place
I
at the
just hate to
time.
approve it with the economic development administrator in the document, and we don't have an economic.
Well, I think somebody will be handling that. I'm not saying no, it is right now, but just to keep it in there in place, we can always come back and revisit it. But I think it's important to say that we're going to be having an economic drive component to this.
And to me,
I agree with
administrator,
that, but I think maybe we're not quite ready for finalizing this until we determine that.
well, to me, the term administrator doesn't mean necessarily a person. It could mean whoever is administrating.
Or a group.
A group.
It could be anything.
Yeah, whoever is administrating.
Well, but it's specifically as.
Just to clarify, we have it as economic development. We don't have it as economic development administrator.
Right.
Okay, maybe I'm reading it wrong on a couple of those.
Yeah,
The last.
some of them say county administrator after it, so maybe that's where that connection's happening.
Okay.
But we made sure it just said economic
Development. Okay.
That makes sense.
So I don't see it as an issue.
I do not.
Any other discussion? Vicki, did you have anything?
No, I was just going to say that I thought that the way that I read it was just that it was under economic development, but didn't designate who was responsible with that within the document.
Yeah, that's the way I see it. Anybody else have anything? If none, I'll entertain a motion.
A motion to approve Resolution 2024-13, amending the Leavenworth County Comprehensive Plan in whole or in part with finding of fact.
Have a motion? Do I have a second? I'll second it. Begin voting. Any further discussion? I'll begin voting. Yes, ma'am. Oh, she voted aye.
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 No.
Motion carries 3-2. Next, consider a motion that this board finds that the annexation
Thank you, folks.
proposed by City Resolution 2024-13 in light of the negotiated road maintenance agreement, which addresses substantive concerns over road maintenance, access and jurisdiction, would not hinder the proper growth and development of the area or that any of the unincorporated city within the county.
Your turn.
Commissioners, I
Or
believe
Missy.
Mark went to get Mr. Van Paris on this item. I think everybody is aware that we do have our city manager from Baser here today, along with their counsel on this annexation request. But David's here. I'll turn it back over.
Commissioners, I apologize. I didn't realize the alacrity to which you would apply on your zoning regulations. Commissioners, I believe you're aware of the proposed annexation by the city of Baser. It's a tract of land that lies south of the city of Baser, does not adjoin, so it's an island annexation. And much like previous island annexations, you need to make a finding regarding the impact of the proposed annexation on the proper growth and development of the area. If you find that the annexation would hinder the proper growth and development of the area, then annexation cannot proceed. If you find it does not hinder the proper growth and development of the area, the city can then proceed to finalize that annexation. You don't finalize the annexation, the city will. There are two complicating factors in this. The annexation does affect county roads. And in negotiations with the city, your staff has reached an agreement, we believe, with the city staff to address the issues of road access and road management. So the issues that have existed in prior annexations you've considered has been removed from this annexation. And there is a representatives from the city of Baser present. I think they wish to address you. But it is my recommendation that you adopt the findings as set forth in the RBA that the proposed annexation does not hinder the proper growth and development of the area.
Commissioners, I want to clarify a couple of things. We do have a road maintenance agreement. I believe it's on the city's agenda for this evening for consideration. It hasn't been approved by them yet, but at a staff level, we've agreed. And I think Leslie's here and can confirm that on their side. But it still needs to be approved tonight by the city. So the motion that the county councilor has proposed is conditional upon that approval.
So I have a question about.
Yes, sir.
Just in general, the statute about the language that says would hinder the proper growth and development of the area or that of any other incorporated city within the county. Is in the law, legally, are there objective standards that cite what considerations we are to take when we determine whether a development hinders the proper growth and development?
The statutes are silent on that. They do not enumerate issues that you have to address. With respect to zoning issues, you have the golden factors that are set out, and you apply them on all of your zoning decisions. With respect to this, it's a very broad definition, and I think it requires you to exercise your judgment on this. I will tell you the property in question does not fall within, I believe, 3 miles of any other incorporated municipality. Your staff has, planning and zoning staff has reviewed this matter. They do not find any creation of any hindrance other than the road access and management, but that issue has been addressed.
So there's no court cases or precedent that's been established that identifies factors for cities or counties to consider when determining whether it hinders the proper growth and development?
We have not been able to locate any, Commissioner.
Thank you.
And the road maintenance agreement is going to take care of the access management. It's going to put it in the city of Basel.
Yes. It addresses who will take care of which roads as they adjoin the properties.
Mm-hmm.
The proposed agreement is also in the packet and would be part of what's approved today.
Right.
By the commission.
And if it does not get approved by the council tonight, then what?
Commissioners, first of all, I think you have every assurance, and you'll be receiving more, that the City Council of Basel will be presented this road maintenance agreement and will adopt it tonight. In the event that that were not to occur tonight or in the near foreseeable future, the motion you are presented with is conditioned upon the existence of that road maintenance agreement. If the existence of the road maintenance agreement is not there, then the motion approving or making that finding on the annexation, I would suggest, would become null and void, although you'd also have the authority to rescind it.
Is there any reason is there any timetable reason as far as any of the project work that would hinder the commission, like say we wait till next week to make the final adoption of this after you acted? Is there any timetable?
Commissioner, I would defer to the city.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Pete Heaven. I'm the land use attorney for the City of Basel, and with me is Leslie Riverola, the City Administrator. By state statute, I believe, David, you'll agree, the Commission had 30 days to make this finding, and we're past that now. Now, we did agree to that, but we do have a developer who is interested in getting started as soon as possible, and if we were to defer it, it would actually defer to another 3 weeks, because then we couldn't act for another 2. We won't be meeting for 2 weeks.
But you're meeting tonight.
Correct.
So there it wouldn't defer 3 weeks for us.
No, it would, well.
I mean, if you adopt it tonight, then we come back next week and we pass it after you've acted.
I understand, but why is that better than a conditional motion on your part, which merely goes away if the city of Basel...
Because I don't like to create other issues that potentially can come up when we have you guys go ahead and act tonight, and then we bring it back next week. If there's no...
I don't have any problem now that's been written. The finance condition upon the adoption. It's very clear right there. According to the legal counsel, if they don't prove that tonight, then this all goes away anyway. We do not have an agreement. Is that correct?
Yes, and I'd ask if the city disagrees with that opinion that they state so at this time.
No, we absolutely agree. And I'm sorry, I didn't fully answer your question, Commissioner. Leslie, thank you for reminding me. If we were to delay this 1 week for you, it would take 3 weeks for us, because we can't adopt our annexation ordinance until after you've made your finding.
Okay, that makes
so it does.
That's 3 weeks. Mike, that's the reason I liked it in the way it's written.
And the way it's worded, it's null and void if they don't do it.
That's what it comes down to.
I just don't like
I understand.
this type of practice.
I do it. And usually we don't.
And Commissioner, I'd like to state that your staff is aware that this matter is time sensitive to the city, and we've tried to work with them. The city has been very cooperative in this process.
City of Basel has?
Yes.
I'm joking, folks. Smile, Jesus. Okay,
well, they've got good people running the city.
Well, I know that.
So
I know the city. I know the city manager. I think that's a true statement.
But if she would like sing us a song or something, that might.
That's part of it.
Probably run away.
Mike, I'll make that part of the motion. Is everybody ready for a motion?
Yes, sir.
Can I just make sure that you use the motion that's included in the amended RBA that was provided?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay,
That's what I'm looking at. Okay. Mr. Chairman, I move that the board find the annexation as proposed by City Resolution 2024-13 in light of the negotiated road maintenance agreement, which addresses substantive concerns over road maintenance, access, and jurisdiction, would not hinder the proper growth and development in the area or that of any other incorporated city within the county. This finding is conditioned upon the adoption of the City of Basel of the negotiation RMA as its meeting conducted on September 11th, 2024.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing.
Ms. Lane, this will keep the developer off the planning commission, I'm sure.
Yeah. I begin voting with Commissioner Cos.
Aye.
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 Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
That concludes.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Members of the committee, the motion was crafted to deal with the issue of the finding that's required by statute. I would ask that you consider, make, second, and adopt the following motion, that the RMA attached to the amended RBA for the Baser annexation be adopted.
So moved.
Second. Motion and a second. Begin voting with Commissioner Cos.
Aye.
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 There you go. That concludes our formal board actions, presentations, and discussion items. Vicki, do you have anything to share with us this morning?
We adopted it.
Okay.
I have just a couple. Mr.
Yes, sir.
Chair. Y'all probably been reading about it. I've been indirectly involved in it. Lansing Historical Museum is going to be starting giving tours out there in the front part of KSP, which is really
I heard about that.
is really something to look at. As a police officer, I had to go inside and take reports sometimes when I used to work with their internal investigation, and it's really to see it on one-on-one. I guess you could go to their site. I don't have all the information and look it up, but I think they're starting this week. The second thing, Lansing hired Joe Gates as Lansing's first fire chief. He comes out of assistant of Fire District 1, and Joe's been with 24 years experience, and I personally know him, and I think he'll do a fantastic job. That's all I have.
I had Easton City Hall meeting last night. They mostly talked about their codes court that they're trying to partner up with Winchester and a couple other small cities to get some sort of an enforcement procedure working. Also went to an agritourism presentation was given by a former K-State student on agritourism in the state of Kansas and how that works today. That's about all I have. You have anything to
No, I'm not going to be able to make the city council meeting tonight. We've got the planning commission tonight. I won't be able to tell whether they pass the road maintenance.
I think it'll be all right.
I think it'll be all right.
Yeah, I do too.
So I don't have anything. I just have one question still on our getting a lot of calls and letters and emails on this fire district issue. What's the next step on that, or where are we at on that?
Well, Commissioners, the Board of Trustees of the Fire Department, and I would say this, it's really comprised of representatives of the two townships in the city. They adopted a zero levy budget for 2025, which implies, I think, it's expressly stating that they don't intend to operate Fire District Number 1 in fiscal year 2025. You can amend the boundaries of the district, you can dissolve the district, you can leave it alone. But at some point, there will be some, I'll call it corrective measures that will be recommended to you by staff. In the meantime, the interlocal agreement that was created by the parties was expressly intended to remove the Board of County Commissioners from any governance decisions regarding that fire district. It is my understanding there is a remaining issue regarding the disposition or division of assets of the fire district, but that is expressly provided for in the agreement to be done between the two townships and the city.
And to add to that, more specifically, I think they were asking what name the Board of Commissioners would officially recognize the new district as, Fire District 1, or I'm not sure if their question meant what we consider High Prairie's name now. Is it High Prairie Township or is it Fire District 1?
I'm getting differences of opinion from folks whether
That's why I was
proceed or not proceed.
That's why I was going to ask David.
There's funds involved in this too, which are
That's
kind of
what it's
laying
all
on the wall.
about.
As far as I'm concerned, we should, and this is coming up down the line, we should, they're working out, but eventually I think the board, in my opinion, will have to dissolve it because that's one of our duties. But there's funds involved in this, and I don't want to see that get in the way. So I'm trying to stay clear of it and let them try to work that out. But I think there'll come a time, as the counselor says, that we'll have to make a decision on that.
This is Commissioner Cox.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I was pulverized with this Highbury Township felt that they were scheduled for some type of meeting with us next week. Is that correct or not correct?
No, that's not correct.
Not that I know of.
I'm not aware of.
There needs to be some clarification on that because I believe that that is what has been indicated. So we need to, we just need some clarification on that because I know that's what has been stated.
Just for my 2 cents is, I don't really want to have a meeting with them till they have a specific proposal. And I don't just want to have like a general meeting about the
Like a work session?
We've been down this so many times. Well, I feel like they're trying to get us to commit to something that we're not going to be involved in. We've made it very clear. The only decision this board has, what I understand from the council, is when we make a decision to dissolve Fire District 1. And I think we're letting them work that out right now to try to see if they can do it. But I don't see it being done. And I'm not going to sit up here and discuss this 10 times over again when we've made it very clear what they need to do.
And we don't have anything to do with division of assets.
Yeah, no, not one. And I've seen the reports. They have both done that, and they're working on it. They need to work that out.
And, this has been through court.
3.
So it's been decided.
Yeah, it has been done.
Okay.
I understand that. I just want to make certain that somebody, maybe Mark, could you make contact with Brian Kellogg to advise them that there is no meeting scheduled with the Board of County Commissioners on the 28th?
I will do that.
Okay. Anybody have anything else?
No, sir.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Voting Commissioner Cos.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.